Good evening, everyone, and welcome to yet another, random live stream. Surprise, surprise. So, greetings, everyone, this evening, in the chat, watching us. Why are we doing this live stream? You might ask the question. You might have already seen, you might not have had a chance to watch it yet. We covered the chaos, the absolute pure chaos of what went on in the Governance and Ethics Committee at Nottinghamshire County Council. Reading about it was one thing. Reading about it was one thing, because oh boy, is it bad. Is it supremely bad what happened in this meeting? Absolutely. However, watching it and the stuff that didn't get mentioned and the stuff that the chairman says, which is off the wall, completely and utterly loopy. Honestly, we'll get to it. Oh boy. Watching one thing, you're about to see it. Absolute clown show. But anyway, I've been amping it up enough already for you all. But before we do go getting into this, just one last indulgence, if you'll allow me to. Please do remember to click on the like and the share button as well. We are actually now live. So if you want to type your hellos and things in chat, I can see Frederick K mentioning about how no one's talking about Nigel Farage's nephew. Again, I have a suspicion there might be legal reasons why people might be a bit afraid to talk about that. I'm not 100% sure. But I know that was talked about briefly before in the past. So yeah. But I do know about that. I am aware of that. So the other thing as well is, like I say, links down below. Thank you very much to everyone who does help the show that way. And let's get on into this. So, ladies and gentlemen, for your absolute viewing pleasure this evening, strap yourselves in, get your popcorn ready, get your favorite mug of ale, whatever. Gonna be interesting. All I can say, it's gonna be interesting. Ethan Puds. Now. It is now. Oh, let's get on into this, because this gets very, very spicy. So right off straight away, we're gonna get into this, and you're gonna see what happens here. Is the introduction of people present at this Government and Ethics Committee, and I just want to point out two people who are present in these in this Government and Ethics Committee, because they're auditors, both internal and external, and Reform keep on saying that people like this do not exist at the council. But here they mysteriously are in a Government and Ethics Committee. Oh. There you go. Make it a little bigger. Oh, here we go. There we go.
We're live. Team Chair. Good morning. I'm Councillor Jim Vernon, the Chairman of the committee. I would like.
There he is. There's Jim, the guy who in a few moments is about to basically for all intents and purposes, throw democracy out the window. And trust me, they only mentioned just one part of his statement that he made. You'll get to see the full statement he made. It's wild. It's really, truly wild.
I'd like to welcome you all to this meeting of the Governance and Ethics Committee, which is being broadcast live and recorded for publication. One small note here, you all make sure that your phones are on silent. If you have any medical or emergency needs, you place it on vibrate. And then if you get the vibration and you need to take the call, would you please take it outside? If it's at a crucial point, I will pause while you make that call and then come back in. For the benefit of new members and the watching public, can I ask all members and officers present to introduce themselves?
So here we are. They're going to introduce some of these officers that are present. And I want you to pay particular close attention to the two people who are auditors, because you have a council auditor, so that's someone who works for the council as an auditor. And then they have someone else who is an external auditor. It's like you don't even need Doge at all. But anyway, let's get on into this.
Morning, everyone. I'm Alistair Newall. I'm the Audit Director at Forvis Mazars, the external auditors.
Hi, I'm Beth Banks. I'm the Audit Manager from Forvis Mazars External Auditors.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Richard Elson.
So there's your two external auditors.
I'm the Team Manager of Complaints and Information here at NCC. I'm Charlie Mason, Solicitor for the Council. Morning, everyone.
Not only that, the solicitor for the council is present as well.
I'm Nigel Stevenson. I'm the Section 151 officer.
Morning all, I'm Glenn Bicknell, Senior Accountant in the Financial Strategy and Accounting team here at County Hall.
Morning all, I'm Simon Lacey. I'm your head of internal audit.
Yes, I'm Christopher Adbid, Councillor for Property Estimation and Vice Chairman of Nottinghamshire Conference. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Councillor Richard Butler, member for the Cockeray Division on the County Council. Steve Carr, I'm member for Bramcat and East North.
Morning, Keith Girling, member for Newcastle West Division, and I'm substituting for my.
Let's see if we can get the subtitles. Might not be that too good, but we'll see. Just so you can see it when the craziness starts to happen. There we go. Make myself just a little bit smaller. I might make myself just a little bit bigger. I'll make myself a little bit smaller. There we go.
I covered this morning.
Good morning, I'm Bruce Walton. I am member for the Tarnsfield and North Muscombe Division and also the Deputy Leader of the Conservative Group, which is the main opposition.
Good morning, I'm County Councillor for Blythe in Harworth.
Morning, my name is Kathy Mason. I am a representative for Sutton North.
Hello, Stephen Pearson, Conservative member for Bingham East.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Councillor Kev Dale, works up north. Councillor Dale is standing in for Councillor Wendy Lucas and myself as the chair. Can I invite the Democratic Service Officer to update the committee on the membership?
Just to roll back, we just have the first item is to note the appointment of the chair and vice chair.
Thank you.
All noted? Great. And so, yes, membership of the committee for 25-26. The committee membership was published with the agenda, but it has been updated to reflect proportionality changes following the elections in Mansfield North in June and Newark West in July. And Councillor Clooney is not a member of this committee, and Councillor Mike Adams is now a member. Thank you.
With that change to the membership published in the agenda, committee is asked to note the membership for 25-26.
Yeah.
So basically, the standard governance procedures. Now, I just want to point this out to someone before, because this is the point where it's about to get a bit. It's about to start getting a bit wacky. But there's something else he's going to mention generally here later, and I generally want to ask, how many people, honestly, if you knew this was happening, would you actually watch this? Because I'm not going to lie, most council meetings, even though they are very, very important, are very, very dry. Not anything really wild or wacky happens too much, or at least shouldn't happen most of the time. And I genuinely would love to know, would you actually watch committee meetings? Because remember, this was live streamed at like 10:30. That's the first thing. You know, would you watch it live? Would you actually spend your time after maybe watching this? My instant check, probably of the people watching, would probably be, I would probably say 80% no. Quite honestly, because most people would not generally tend to watch like what goes on their government and ethics committee, and don't lie either. Don't suddenly say, oh, I would watch my council. Vince, if it was my council, yes, because I have the time and interest to watch my own council. Yeah. Most, some people do, not all the people. I'm going to say that, and trust me, this will make sense, because he's going to say something later on that is going to be really weird, because he's going to say at some point later on, why aren't more people watching these videos? Why aren't more people watching these live streams? I know why. It is because of you all sitting across from me who like the sound of their own voice. Yeah, it's gonna get a bit wacky. It's gonna get a bit wacky.
There's now a slight change. The chair will make a statement.
Here we go. Here we go. So this is the chair's statement that was not on the agenda either. So this was not on the agenda. As well. So, question whether we would actually be able to do this. Heath and Puds, I doubt I would, of course, watch this unless you were, of course, commenting it. I'd read about it instead, most likely. Yeah. As I said, at the beginning of this, Puds, there's watching, there's reading about this, and then there is actually seeing this, because someone posted that under the video, and I just curiosity just caught me. I said, I've got to watch this. Is it as bad? And it is as bad as they are saying, but it's even worse when you actually watch it. Yeah, point of order, chair, but it's not on the agenda. Again, very true. Very true. I've done meetings like this where your statement on the agenda, so you can actually do that statement. And yet, he's also about to launch into people wasting time when he himself is wasting time.
As an opening motion, and if we list it as 2A, that might help for the records. In the public interest of transparency and efficiency, I could move to suspend under Standing Order 25.2 today's agenda.
So there you have it. Basically throwing out the agenda. What? why on earth, right? First of all, because this is honestly, this guy should be absolutely questioned, like what he was doing. If I was a journalist in Nottingham, I would be getting in front of this guy and saying, so yeah, that Government and Ethics Committee, you were going to completely chuck the agenda. Why? What were you going to replace it with? What were you going to do instead by throwing the agenda? But oh no, because of, you know, the public. I would be on this guy. I would be on this guy trying to find out what game he was playing. Because this is insane. As essentially, he is basically threatened there to completely upend any democracy in Nottinghamshire County Council. Out it goes. Anyway, let's get back to this.
To suspend under Standing Order 25.2 today's agenda. However, of course, so much work has been put into this and so many people are in attendance, we're going to stick with the agenda as published. Today, I will limit it to...
Wild. Absolutely wild.
Chair's opening statement to a couple of thank yous and brief explanations, setting the scene for the public mainly. My short chairman's statement today is to be mainly...
Oh, by the way, I am putting in my calendar now. I am putting in my calendar when the next one of these meetings is going to be, because if this was the first one, what on earth is the second one of these going to be like? What on earth is the second one of this? The second ethics committee is going to be about on this? What on earth?
To the public, whilst leaving all the other items on today's agenda unchanged, to respect that time and effort made by all the officers and its members to attend today. And as always, to
someone's trying to get a point of order in there, but he's ignoring them.
Respect the taxpayers of this great county, the county of Nottinghamshire. It is my privilege to serve. So I will be very brief, but I want to explain to the public what the Governance and Ethics Committee are about.
It honestly sounds like he wanted to completely throw out the agenda because he wanted to try and explain, or the whole reason why he's doing this little chairman's speech is he wants to try and explain what the Government and Ethics Committee does. Everyone around that table is there for the Government and Ethics Committee. I would think most of all they are there for the Government and Ethics Committee. If this guy wants to publicize the Government and Ethics Committee, maybe instead he should be using his own social media. Maybe he could be saying to the council's social media, say, hey, this is the Government and Ethics Committee. This is when it's on. This is the link to watch it on the live stream. And this is what it does, in case you don't know what the Government and Ethics Committee does. Yeah, very true as well. It's insane for him just to try and admit that. It's a taste of what they'll try and get away with if they form a majority government. Very true. Very true indeed. Very true. Anyway, let's get back to this.
But I want to explain to the public what the Governance and Ethics Committee are about. And as we have a lot to get through, and like a few members of the opposition, I've been accused sometimes of liking the sound of my own voice.
So that was obviously attempted. I think his attempt at a joke, but it more comes across as, oh, you know, compared to my opponents across the aisle who like the sound of their own voice, I have been but accused of such a thing. And yet this guy is interrupting a meeting for a statement that is not on the agenda so that he can say this. Who likes the sound of their own voice now? Madness, sheer madness of this.
Seriously, I would like to take this opportunity to point out to the public listening. Although viewing figures for these committees are usually low,
yeah, they are normally low. It's not, but it's not just for a committee like this. It's for all council committees. I think that's a very sorry state of affairs, but unfortunately, let's face it, even people that are involved in these types of committees, etc., will probably say that, yeah, to someone watching from the like these events from outside, they will probably find them extremely boring. That is why they are low. And I would love to ask him what he thinks the viewing figures for these committee meetings should be. What does he think they should be? Is this all a ploy? Is this just all a stunt? Have I fallen for his trap so that next time there is a government and ethics committee, like they'll have higher viewing figures? I don't know. I generally don't know.
it's because the figures are not everyone's cup of tea. But it is our duty to be transparent and openly accountable to the taxpayers of Nottinghamshire. Indeed, it's our statutory duty.
Yes.
I have been involved in.
Ask a question. Why would you?
Yep. Someone's now asking a question here. So here we go. Here's the first question.
Yes.
I have been involved in.
Ask a question. Why would you want to suspend standing orders and stop this committee? I just can't understand why you said that.
I haven't stopped it. I'm continuing.
Well, why say it? Why you refer to it?
I'm continuing. I have been involved.
Yeah, why say it? Why just say you would invoke? Why say you would invoke the standing order to just go, well, no committee today? They should be absolutely laying into this guy. I would be laying into him. I would be point of ordering this guy all day long. Yeah, I think he does need a copy of Robert's rules and Cabinet Office rules. I think you're absolutely right there, Vince. I think he really, really does need that. Time to outsource local government to appropriate commercial organization. That would be incredibly bad. That would be incredibly bad. Why on earth would you want to privatize your local council? That would mean you would have absolutely zero say on what goes on in your area. Good luck for that. Anyway, let's get back to this. So I am continuing, not answering the question. Just I am continuing with my statement. But I totally don't like the sound of my own voice, he says.
I just can't understand why you said that.
I haven't stopped it. I'm continuing.
Well, why say it? Why you refer to it?
I'm continuing. I have been involved in some other committees, too many actually, where I've seen and heard some great things that were achieved by both the officers and previous members over the last 2 decades. The last 2 decades of enforced public hardship and turmoil created by both parties' own governments. I have particularly witnessed some great work being done, and importantly, about to be done, in children's services and adult care and welfare. So I'd like to thank those members for that input and for their service. So on behalf of my own Reforms Party councillors in these sectors, can I also assure the public that we are blessed with our own excellent Reform members, those on the welfare sections in particular. I'm sure together they will continue to serve those in need well. So back to the Governance and Ethics Committee. For those in the public, it simply does what it says on the can. We are the eyes and the ears of the public. It's a very powerful and very privileged position that we hold, and is, like all committees, a very responsible one for which the
honestly this is coming across as so performative. Like this is seriously just coming across as like incredibly performative. Like why on earth is he even in doing this? Is he saying to this? He's playing to some sort of crowd. He's really playing to some sort of crowd here, it feels like. But the question is, what crowd? You know? I have a very interesting feeling that if you went on this guy's Facebook or social media pages, you would probably see this clipped and being disseminated by him. Yeah, making a party political statement with the guise of telling the public of what the committee is for, when anyone else that chooses it already knows. Yeah, that it is right. This is just a party political statement, very tried to hide in this. And you notice he's said, oh well, you know, the council did well in the past, but you know, we've got some excellent people in our party now who are gonna make things all better. This guy started off the meeting by saying, yeah, I'm gonna trash the complete agenda, and then has gone on a, as you are right, Vince, on a very thinly veiled party political broadcast. Yes, I did see this. You'll not be too surprised. This is tomorrow's video. Yeah, so there's a Reform council in County Durham has resigned so his wife can enter a flower competition. I mean, what was the point of becoming a councillor in the first place? That is yet again another very expensive by-election Durham is now going to have to run and organise. And it will be very interesting to see if Reform actually loses this by-election, because that seems to be the recurring theme of some of these by-elections, because they've lost more than they've actually stood for these by-elections. Yeah, she couldn't enter a flower competition if he was a councillor. Yep, because it was, I believe, council run or council funded, I believe, something like that. I think, from what I remember off the top of my head. Yeah, that is someone who, of course, takes being a councillor very, very seriously in his politics. So Durham is now down another 10k plus. Yep. And yeah, remember, by-elections, can cost between, again, depending on the area, depending on the people. I think some of these can cost be quite expensive. I think it's even more than 10k. It might even be more than 10k. It might be like 15. I've seen them go from like 15 to 25. And I remember the election was what, 3 months ago? And yet that's another, reform councillor gone. Another reform councillor gone. Yeah, oh, I see what another committed individual. Exactly. Pansy comes to mind. Oh well, very true. Anyway, let's get back to this. Let's get back to this very thinly veiled party political broadcast.
Polled, and is, like all committees, a very responsible one for which the public pay us quite well. On that note, I would also like to thank the council's leader, Councillor McBarton, for trusting me and us with this committee's task ahead. Councillor Mick has an open door policy and is a man of considerable experience and integrity.
Yeah. Councillor, I'm sorry, I have to get to this as well, because this is yet another thing that has cropped up in Nottinghamshire that is destroying your transparency and accountability, even though this guy claims this is what this committee and this administration are all about. No, what Councillor McBarton said was, I'm going to have an open door policy. If you are a councillor and you have a concern, don't bring it up. Don't bring it up in the council meeting. Come talk to me, where, that argument and that concern, or the fact that I can just, wave you away, is not minuted, is not put down. It becomes a game of, he said, she said. That's what it all becomes. Please don't bring up your complaints against us in this council. Come see me behind closed doors. Anyone would be a fool. Anyone would be a fool to take up Councillor Mick Barton on his open door policy by taking a complaint to him. They should be done in the full light of day, either at committee meetings or in full council meetings, letting him, quite frankly, have both barrels.
Who led us on our combined group's decision to say thank you to the people of Nottingham by not taking the pay rise offered for this work of serving the people of Nottinghamshire, by freezing councillors' pay for another year in recognition of some of the public's 2 decades of extraordinary hardship and some turmoil ahead, reducing the member positions required to run this council and saving an immediate £100,000, which will be reinvested.
That's another thing as well that he's done. So he's actually gotten rid of member positions. He's actually got rid of cabinet positions and doubled up in some places. So it's not that some of these positions might have disappeared. Some people are pulling double duty. You've seen, again, Darren Grimes, for example. He's got 3 appointments, which is strange to say the least. Yeah, what the F does that have to do with the Government and Ethics Committee? Exactly. It's got nothing to do. It's got nothing to do with the Government Ethics Committee. This is just a completely thinly veiled political broadcast. Absolutely thinly veiled political broadcast, this.
Councillor Barton and my deputy chair, who today was not able to make it due to changes in dates, have actually been hard at work since day one, supported by the officers here at County Hall.
Yeah,
County Hall.
totally hard at work. Totally hard at work. What have they done? what have they done? Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
A beautiful building. We have been training and preparing for massive changes.
And yeah, very, very, very true. Yeah, very true, Vince. I would be doing this as well. Yeah, where are the Tories? They should be coming in here and going, Chair, point of order, what's this got to do with the meeting? Chair, point of order, why are you doing a party political broadcast? Chair, point of order, you've said you don't want to waste any time. Right now, you're wasting our time in saying this. They should be in there. They should absolutely be in there. Just going, chair, point of order, chair, point of order, chair, point of order, chair, point of order. Oh, I don't know. Back to that.
And some chaos and turmoil. And sadly, some hardships ahead in the next couple of years. So the role of G&E has never been more important. Huge sums of money, huge problems lie ahead, and it is vital that we spend wisely and transparently. It's vital that we govern and account for our actions and spending in the most robust.
And yet, this guy opened this meeting by saying he wanted to completely just throw away the agenda. Just
open and honest way possible. That is the main role of this committee for the next 2 years. My role is to oversee and lead our elected team of councillors who, despite some media press attempts to mislead, have all been hard at work for the last couple of short months.
No, none of them have been hard at work. Honestly, not a single one. Not a single one has been hard at work. And remember, all that's really being reported on this meeting, Reform will have had zero input on this. This would all have been the last administration. So this meeting in here, any money that's been saved or anything like that is still pretty much last administration. I have a strange feeling that's why he might have wanted to chuck the meeting minutes. But then again, I don't know. I'm just speculating. But, you know, if you're a journalist, maybe a question you want to put to this guy, to Jim here and Mick Barton. Yeah, again, very true. External auditors paid by the hour, more money wasted. Yep. Remember, this meeting in total was about an hour and 57 minutes, so close to 2 hours. So, hey, you know, at least they got, you know, billable hours. At least they got billable hours in.
And are already moving mountains, making great savings. So for anyone hiding in the bushes, counting cars in the car park, can I just say, get a job. Finally.
Yeah, this is it. This was, oh my God. So if you don't get that, if you don't understand what he's just said there, it has been constantly reported by the local media, especially like Nottinghamshire Live, the local newspaper. If you're apparently hard at work, why aren't you at the council hall? Seems odd that, you know, there's so few cars there in the councillors' car parking spaces. Seems awfully odd for those hard-working Reform cabinet members not to be there. That's why he's so annoyed at this, because he's right. They have been called out, and guess what they've done in response to that? Guess what they've done in response to that? They've actually taken away the councillor assigned car parking notices so that they can't count them. That's the level it's gotten to. Like I say, Nottinghamshire, honestly, this is one of the ones, like one of the councils I am watching, because it generally seems like it has become an absolute clown show. We're watching Warwickshire as well, because like I say, they've now got a 19-year-old leader. I'm sure that's not going to go down like the Titanic. But Nottinghamshire, oh boy, this place is definitely on my radar, as well as Kent and Durham. Kent and Durham in particular, because they're in full majority control of those two councils. But I'll tell you what, Nottinghamshire, you're going to provide me some good content for the next couple of years.
I personally, preparing for today, for my first G&E committee, G&E, Governance and Ethics for the Public, I'm in the office, or on casework, or sitting on other committees.
Yeah, someone's put in a point of order there. Again, I'd be in there straight away. Sorry, Chair, what's this got to do? What's this got to do with this committee? What are you doing? Why are you wasting our time?
I'm in the office, or on casework, or sitting on other committees from 7 a.m. until late evening, 6.5 days a week. A lot of, can you be quiet, please? A lot of my colleagues and my deputy, some of them have other jobs and businesses.
Yeah, did you hear that? What are you doing? This is a waste of time. Can you be quiet, please? I'm trying to read out my opening statement that wasn't even in the opening agenda. How dare you interrupt? What has this got to do with the? What has this got to do with this committee? What has this got to do with this committee? It's wild. Absolutely wild.
A lot of my colleagues and my deputy, some of them have other jobs and business. A week. A lot of, can you be quiet, please?
A
lot of my colleagues, a lot of late evening, 6.5 days a week. A lot of, can you be quiet, please?
Didn't hear what he said then. I didn't hear what he said. But God, I wish that was more audible. I wish that was more audible. I really wish that was.
A lot of my colleagues and my deputy, some of them have other jobs and businesses. They are doctors, teachers, lawyers, and manual workers. Few.
And I would have to say this. Doctors have a pretty much full-time demanding job. Now, that's not that, a doctor can't be a counsellor. But I would think that with the amount of work that, again, depending on what the doctor, this guy who was a doctor would do, I would imagine he would be pretty full out seeing his patients and then having to do committee meetings like this, meet people, do surgeries. I would imagine that's a pretty much, would take over in being a doctor. Same for the teacher. I would imagine that teacher probably spends more of a time actually teaching than actually being at the council. And you wonder why. You wonder why he got so upset that they were counting cars.
Our career politicians. That is what's great to see. And you'll see what we achieve in the next few years.
Again, this is just a thinly veiled party political broadcast. What on earth is this about? This is a complete waste of time. This is a complete waste of time. There was already an agenda set. This is eating into those other agenda items. This guy apparently doesn't like his own sound of his own voice. But if you think we are 41 minutes into the meeting. And when did the meeting start? 31. So he's been talking, pretty much him, for over 10 minutes at this point. What has any of this, that he has mentioned and said got to do with the Government and Ethics Committee?
We only intend to scrutinise everything. No one will be allowed to stray or fail if we do our jobs well on this committee. Changes are coming for the better. So now straight back to the agenda. Thank you for indulging.
What a waste of time. What an absolute waste of time. I would be in there straight away basically saying, thank you very much for wasting the time, Chair. That is now this meeting that is going to have to run 10 minutes longer. And bear in mind, a lot of these other people probably have other meetings to get to. This meeting might have been scheduled maybe for like an hour and 30 minutes because that's how long they'd set it for. Depending on how, again, the meeting is structured, it might have been, 15 minutes for this, 10 minutes for this, 5 minutes for this, 10 for this, 20 for this. He's just wasted 10 minutes of that meeting waffling on about what exactly? What had any of this to do with the Government and Ethics Committee? That was just a thinly veiled party political broadcast. That was a waste of time. Yeah, exactly, Vince. The council officers will definitely be on a schedule, as might these external auditors. But they probably don't care because they're going to get paid. That council lawyer might also be on, running to time. Again, this guy's just wasted 10 minutes of time. And I've managed to get 51 minutes of content out of this. Over just that. Because he's just wasting everyone's time on this.
Point of order, if this is how it's going to be moving forward, we have people in this room who have got nothing to do with politics.
Yep. Thank you so much for going into that. Whoever is saying this, don't know who it was, don't recognize the voice, but whoever is saying this, yeah, spot on. Absolutely spot on. People in this room are there to do a job. They aren't in here to listen to your party political broadcast.
And this should be a non-political committee. You have just drawn a line in the sand. If you want it to be a party political committee, then bring it on. We're more than happy to do that. And to hold.
Yep. Oh boy. Oh boy. So I hope, because it's the I think it's most of the Conservatives that are in that room in that committee. I would hope at that moment the Conservatives on this committee stick to their word, because it's very true. Committees like this are normally very non-partisan. This is all about making sure that money is being spent where it is said to be spent, and that there is scrutiny being spent, and that it can be questioned where the money is being spent. That is what this committee is all about. He's just made a party political broadcast. He's just made a committee that was non-political into a political one. I really do hope that the Conservatives keep their word on this and take it to them. Maybe they should make a complete comedy show about these idiots. They have no right to being there. Yeah. Oh, you could absolutely make a comedy show about councillors on this. Absolutely. I mean, one of the most successful comedy shows of all time was Yes Minister, you know, and Yes Prime Minister. You could absolutely do a comedy show about a council. And guess what? It would be so cheap because you could do entire bottle episodes in a committee room. It would be so cheap to do. Yeah, they'll be chasing around each other with buckets of water. The doors of the car will fall off. Yeah, very true. But anyway, back to this because I'm genuinely quite happy. This guy is giving it to this guy. We'll just go back a bit to get this.
If this is how it's going to be moving forward, we have people in this room who have got nothing to do with politics, and this should be a non-political committee. You have just drawn a line in the sand. If you want it to be a party-political committee, then bring it on. We're more than happy to do that and to hold you to account. What do you think we are? What do you think we were in previous lives before I was retired? Oh yeah, I wasn't a career politician. I worked. Me too. And him.
Yeah, most councillors are not career politicians. This is the insane thing that often gets like thrown about, right? Councillors generally do not get paid a lot, not as much as like an MP would in Westminster. Now, there are reasons why you want MPs paid good, because obviously you don't want them to be bribed, first and foremost. So you do want them to have a good wage. Same for councillors. Councillors, unless they are, again, depending on what type of councillor it is, they might not be getting paid much, if at all, in some cases. They might only be getting expenses if it's like a local parish council. And if you're a mayor, depending on what type of setup it is, you saw the recent palaver about Farage not knowing that the mayor of Scarborough having a 600% increase in his allowances. So, yeah, good on him. Good on him for addressing this. I really do hope he keeps his promise on this and just goes, you know what? Gloves off. This was a non-political, committee. Well, not anymore, sunshine. Not anymore. As I said, I think next time they're going to do one of these, I think we're watching this live. I think we're watching this live. I'm hoping there might be fireworks to the next one. Anyway, let's just scoot it back a bit.
What do you think we are? What do you think we were in previous lives before I was retired? Oh yeah, I wasn't a career politician. I worked. Me too. And him. He was in the army. Bruce was a farmer and a teacher. You were at work. I've never heard anything so appallingly disgraceful from a chair. I'm sorry, but that you draw the line in the sand, and you're going to regret it. Can we have?
I need to find this councillor. I need to find this councillor. I need to get him on. I do not care that he is a Conservative. I've said this before. If you are a councillor and you are watching this, if you are that councillor in particular, and you want to come on and you want to talk about the ridiculousness of like what Reform UK is getting up to on your council, by all means, get in contact with me. come and spill the tea, dish the dirt. You have my absolute blessing. Come on. I don't care what party. Well, maybe. Depends. You know. Yeah, I really don't care what party you are from, as long as you are a councillor or one of these things, and I will gladly give you some time. Gladly give you some time to talk about this. No, Kevin just tuned in, presumed I'm too late. Well, who knows? Maybe we should watch the rest of this meeting. Maybe we should watch the rest of this meeting. It might not be as exciting. I will admit, it might not be as exciting, but we'll see. We'll see. Now, let's just go back a bit.
He was in the army. Bruce was a farmer and a teacher. You were at work. I've never heard anything so appallingly disgraceful from a chair. I'm sorry, but that you draw the line in the sand and you're going to regret it.
Can we have a confirmation, please, on what regulations from the monitoring officer 25.2 allows the chairman to do?
Yeah, so he's just obviously, you got to remember, the chairman just threatened to do that, and now he's asking the monitoring officer. Yeah, so this 25.2, what does this actually allow the chairman to do? I want clarification on that.
Look it up, Bruce.
I apologise.
Cancelling the Audit and Accounts Committee.
Of 25 under the procedure rules for committee and subcommittee meetings is councillors must speak strictly to the subject under discussion.
So nonsense then.
So it's nonsense.
What? What an absolute clown. What an absolute clown. This guy threatens to tear up the agenda using point 25.2. Right? Now, when they get clarification from the officer has said, yeah, according to this, Article 25 on the committees and subcommittees, it's all about keeping and sticking to the point. Which is just not done. He's just gone and done a party political broadcast. Exactly, Vince. He's breached his own article. He's breached his own article. What an absolute clown. What an absolute clown. I am at a loss for words. I am genuinely at a loss for words. I don't even know, generally don't even know, like, how to respond to that. That is just some grade A incompetence. Either that or what I think, this was pre-written for him, and at another council, Article 25.2 is all about suspending the current agenda. Not, please keep the time. Please keep the subject matter, please. Anyway, let's get back to this. Right, let's get back to this because I just.
In the Audit and Accounts Committee.
Of 25 under the procedure rules for committee and subcommittee meetings is
So there isn't even a 25.2. It's just 25.
25 under the procedure rules for committee and subcommittee meetings is councillors must speak strictly to the subject under discussion.
So nonsense then.
So it's nonsense.
Yeah.
Well, you're entitled to your opinion. Can we get on with the agenda now? I've allowed you to.
Just. No, you've been thoroughly embarrassed. You've been absolutely thoroughly embarrassed. He has been well and truly embarrassed on that. Just. What? If you happen to have a reform council and you know that any ridiculous stuff like this goes on in a committee meeting or a council meeting, please do let me know. Please do let me know, because it is really difficult to try and keep on top of what's going on in all these councils. And I keep on saying it, but there are people who do keep on throwing me stuff. So thank you very much, those people who do keep on like throwing me the little tidbits of what's going on in some of these councils. Thank you so much. Please do keep on doing that. It is great. I really appreciate it. But yeah, wow. What an absolute embarrassment. What an omnishambles. Where's Malcolm Tucker when you need him?
Yeah. Well, you're entitled to your opinion. Can we get on with the agenda now? I've allowed you to voice your objections and your feelings. I start. Right. Please don't keep interrupting. It's our right. Do not interrupt.
I've allowed you. No, yeah, he's right. Call him out on it. It's your right to voice your objections. It's not at his whim. If you've got an objection, you have a right to put that forward to the chair. So good on him. Once again, they've got no idea how to run these meetings. They've got no idea how to run these. Yeah, exactly. Not a question of opinion. There is, of course, black and white all in the council procedures. Exactly. I am sorry. This is ludicrous, and he keeps on digging his hole. It keeps on digging his hole. Surely this can't get any worse. Surely this cannot get any worse. I say.
Right. Please don't keep interrupting. It's our right. Do not interrupt the chair. Do not interrupt the chair. I've allowed you to vent your wrath. All right. You've allowed me to give you praise, which you seem to have missed. Oh, yeah. So back to the agenda, please, gentlemen. So, yeah, really good start. So, here we are. Minutes of the last meeting held on March the 5th. Can I accept that the minutes as a true and accurate record, please?
I feel that was it. I have a very strange feeling that the meeting may be settled down after this. But yeah, wow. Generally, wow.
I don't think there's anybody here, Chair, that was at the meeting.
No, that was noted.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I was one, I think I'm the only member who was actually at that meeting. And so for what it's worth, I'm happy to confirm the minutes that
And I'm glad you're in house today, so I was relying.
I'd like to have my use.
Well, I'm happy in house today. I was relying on the monitoring officers who were also present and have assured me those records are accurate. 4, apologies for absence.
Gee, I'll tell you what. If I was the monitoring officer in that meeting, I'd take a very dim view of the chairman after saying that. I'd take a very dim view of the chairman after saying that.
Yes, I'll explain those. Thank you, Chair. We have apologies from Councillor Mike Adams on other council business, and substitute, as previously stated, is Councillor Keith Girling. Apologies from Councillor Neil Clark, MBE, also on other county council business, for whom Councillor Richard Butler is substituting, and also from Councillor Wendy Lukash, other reasons.
I still want to point out all that, and the meeting still hasn't really started yet.
Reasons given, and the substitute, as explained previously, is Councillor Kev Dale. Those are the 3 substitutions. Councillor John, you've indicated.
Councillor Mason.
It's Councillor Gurney, who's presented apologies for all the reasons.
I'm sorry. No, Councillor Girling's in the room.
Gurney. Not Gurling, sorry, Walker Gurling.
No, my apologies normally for what I say rather than not.
Okay, I've not received
received them, so.
Do we know the reason?
Other reasons.
Other reasons. Thank you.
Thank
We
you.
we'll record that for the minutes.
No, I think it was Councillor
Thank you.
Mason, Councillor John were going to say the same thing. I think.
Well, that's good.
Okay.
Thank you.
5 on the agenda is declarations of interest. If any councillor or officer has an interest in any matter on the agenda, you should declare it now, and you should state what type of interest it is and give brief details, please. Item 6 on the agenda, local government and social care Ombudsman's annual review letter. I formally move the recommendation included on page 9 of the agenda pack, and members to consider whether there are any actions they require in relation to the issues contained in that report.
Chair, can I just make a comment on the report? Yes, please. Before I move that. I just wanted to pay tribute to the officers. I think some hard work has been done to have quite a low level of complaints, particularly in special educational needs, where I know a lot of work's been done to improve the quality of service. And I think it will be helpful just to
I think what you're going to get now is
we are impressed by the low level of complaints that have been received, and also the fact that the Ombudsman is satisfied that the council has been taking steps.
standard council meeting after all that very explosive.
That's well noted.
After that very explosive start, looks like normality has been restored to the council meeting. Oh boy, but wow. Wow, that was certainly an interesting one, wasn't it? Certainly a very interesting start to this meeting. Let's see if I say I think that was it. I think that was it. I don't think there was anything else that happened in this meeting, to be honest. Yet the counting cards is, of course, absolutely valid. Reform have now constantly attacked the concept of remote working, so absolutely should be at the premises. Yep. Well, it's not even the fact that they're working from home. They're just not even there. They're just not even there. It's going to be very, very interesting in future of these scrutiny committees, where you've got the officer in charge of complaints at the council saying, yeah, I've got all these complaints about this council and this council and this council, and that they're not helping with casework, or I'm asking them questions and they're not doing anything. That'll be an interesting council meeting, I can tell you that. There were several councillors that were, of course, object very strongly indeed to being told to be quiet during his party political broadcast. Yeah, I do not doubt it. I think there would have been a lot more of the councils who would have been very, 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 very much so out for blood if he had started like that. I think there would have been a lot of other councillors that would have been very, very much so. But this is, I think, something new. We're seeing again from the reform councillors, very, very much so. Some of them are being very, very much antagonistic, deliberately so in some cases, it seems. Is that part of something else? Have they been told that's how they've got to act? Who knows? I don't think there's, like I say, I'm not aware of anything else.
A real demand for our service.
Item 8 on the agenda, Governance and Ethics Committee Annual Report. I formally move that the recommendation on page 21 of the agenda pack, the Council considers the achievements of the Governance and Ethics Committee and endorses its intended areas of focus for the current year. Do I have a second, please?
I'll second you.
Now I hand over to Nigel Stevenson, who will introduce the report.
Well, actually, Chair, Pastor Simon Lacey, if I may.
Absolutely.
No problem. Thank you, Chair. Nothing really much to add to the report. It's established under the audit standards. Some of you may remember from the training weeks back. Brings together the work that you've done over the year as a committee. This reflects the work that was done on the previous committee. So you're inheriting this, as we've discussed previously. But it really does enforce the requirement you mentioned earlier, the Governance and Ethics Committee, and the importance that it brings together the work that you do as a committee during the year. So it's a summary of that work. I fully support it. Looking further on the questions.
Thank you. Now I'd like to invite the views and questions from any members. Councillor Carr first, I think. Councillor Carr.
Yes, thank you. Can I ask a question about what I'm hearing from other county councils that were elected reform administrations, that there have been attempts of unelected people to gain access to confidential.
Okay, so this is a question about Doge. This is a Doge question. Oh, I'm so glad I jumped ahead. Yeah, this is a question about Doge, because this is, of course, Zia Youssef and his team of volunteers trying to gain access to confidential council information. I think this is the exact right place to bring up this type of question.
Details of people, for example, claiming PIP, etc., in an attempt to try and have a look at detailed report of expenditure of that council. Have any attempts been made of this a group of unelected reform supporters to actually try and gain access to our confidential papers?
Yeah, I can answer that one if you're right. Thank you, Councillor Cobb, for your question. And the answer to that one is really simple: no.
Thank you for that assurance.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no for the time
Councillor
being.
Lawson.
No, no for the time being.
Yes, thank you very much, Simon. Good report, excellent report. Work of the previous committee is obviously coming to fruition, and I particularly, I make the point here that your department is about promoting. I'm using the looking glass or the magnifying glass icon, promoting strong governance and sound ethical values. So important.
The other thing, again, I want to bring up at the moment is especially all of like the committees in council meetings at the moment, you're probably going to see it's all still reporting currently on previous administration stuff. Like currently, this is all previous administration. So this entire like committee report they're going through now, that was the previous administration. That was back in March. This is, July. So some of these committees are still going to be reporting on past stuff. So there isn't, maybe give it again a couple of more months, then you'll start to have more committees starting to get into, okay, reform's in charge. We're looking at you, councillor. You're in reform. What are you going to do? What have you done? That is, trust me, give it a couple of months. That's where it's going to start to get really interesting. That's where it's going to start to get really interesting. Methinks that's why he wanted to try and throw away the agenda, or at least make an attempt to throw away the agenda, because this is all previous administration stuff. And you're seeing a lot of committees still being cancelled. A lot of these councils. So they're still falling behind on a lot of these things, and that will have implications. That will have a lot of implications on a lot of council work. So, like I say, if you've currently got a reform council, good luck. If you don't have a reform council, then I absolutely recommend you get as many people out to vote as possible, because I think the key to defeating reform at the next one is not just tactical voting. It will be to drive the vote out, get as many people out as voting as possible. But back to this.
Written right the way throughout all the work we do. So well done to the team. Pass my thanks on to the team. I'd most appreciate it. I know what how the work goes on and what the working process is at your department intimately, and you continue to perform well. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Those compliments on, and indeed it is really carrying on the work that you set up and is back. So that's what.
Yeah, no, it's so important for the new council.
Councillor Gurley.
Thank you. I totally endorse what Councillor Lawrence said. Thank you very much. It's very reassuring as council when you see that the way that we do scrutinise ourselves. So I'm really pleased at it. Just touching.
Again, what I love is this is all of like the previous administration basically saying, yeah, we did a really good job. We know we did a really good job. Here's all the council stuff saying how good a job we did, especially when it came to scrutinising ourselves. And remember, reform ran on the idea everyone else except them was on the take, was corrupt, was bad, was absolutely terrible. You still see it in a lot of my comments about these, about when we do this. Oh, at least they're better than, you know, Labour or Conservatives, etc. And you're like, no, they're 10 times worse because they're not even doing anything yet. And what they will do, God knows what they'll do when they actually do it, but it's not going to look very good, to be honest. Not going to look to be good very much at all.
You know what Councillor Carr said, actually, and I wasn't going to ask this question, it's just because of his question. Can we assure this committee that if we are approached by these non-elected people to look at our finance and audit things, that actually we are informed so that we know that it's happening and under what authority that it's happening? So I need that assurance really from you, Chairman.
Well, it's on my watch. I can assure you there will be nothing illegal, nothing irregular, nothing outside of the regulations.
I'm not suggesting it's illegal.
I didn't say you were suggesting, I was just reassuring you.
Yeah, but what I'm asking you is if
what I'm answering, I think,
well, you're not
there will be. You asked me.
He hasn't even answered the question. Hey, if these people come, you know, knocking on the door, you know, I want to make sure that you tell us that they've come calling.
To assure you, and I'm going to assure you, not on my watch.
Can I finish my question, please, Chairman? The assurance I'm looking for is not whether it will be illegal or illegal. What I'm asking for, that if you are approached by, as Councillor Carr suggested, this group of people, that we will be informed about it. Not saying that you stop it, not saying that. What I'm asking is that we are actually informed that it's happening. And it's not done behind closed doors, it's not done secretly. I'm asking that we will be informed as a council, as this committee, that it is actually happening.
Short answer, yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, again, they're sort of going about this wrong. For maximum embarrassment, to really put the pressure on these reform guys, remember, you've got a guy sitting there in the grey jacket. You'll see these two people sitting at the bottom of the end of the table in black. Just up from them there, that guy in the grey suit. That's the lawyer for the council. At that point, you should be fielding some questions to him to remind them about how much trouble all this could cause for the council and what a gigantic disaster it could be if any of that information leaks or if they start, you know, abusing any of that information. Because we've got some pretty strict GDPR laws in the UK still. I would be making use of the fact that you've got that council lawyer there. But again, not me, but good questions though. Like the fact that they're picking up on that and they're saying, hey, we want to make sure if they do come knocking, you've got to tell us. None of this is done in secret. You've got to tell us. I would be then going, council lawyer, can you remind them of the legal problems this could cause and what we might be looking at? Really lay it on to them. Lay it on thick to the doors they might be opening to them if they allow these Doge people in.
Thank you.
Well, I think if anybody is coming forward to ask about that kind of information, is presuming that we're going to breach data protection. So it is illegal. No, we won't be doing it. And everybody should know, because I think there is a requirement on the authority that should anybody try to break data protection, that they have to record it. I think if there was a breach, what attempted breaches are equally classed as severe and everybody would be informed. So I don't think it's a matter of us personally informing you. I think the authority will do that. And no, there won't be any data breach. Well, if they're asking for personal information about somebody's pick, etc., then it would be a data breach.
That's what we're trying to do.
Again, you've got the council lawyer. Use him, please. Use him. He's sitting there. He's not doing anything. Use him. Oh,
Mr. Chairman, yeah, I think the point being is that can we be assured that external bodies or people who might be interested in investigating, for want of a better word, will be advised by your good selves and leaderships that it's completely unacceptable and it's just not can't be done. I think that's basically what the colleagues are asking. So really, I think it's just to show that at the end of the day, this committee as a whole is the body responsible for this sort of thing. And that if anyone external expresses an interest in getting involved, we thank them very much, but we are quite capable of doing it ourselves. I think that's
Well, reassuring again, as a former data officer myself, this does fall under the GDPR and under the Constitution. And where it's
we'll see what Daddy Farage says. We'll see what Daddy Farage will say when they come calling, because eventually they are probably going to get to these other councils as well. Eventually, they're starting off in Kent. I don't know if you saw recently they're trying to take a load of credit for like a load of money that Labour has now given out to local councils, and they're trying to claim credit down in Kent. This was all reform. Thanks to reform, this money would have been released.
allows, you will be informed. Any other questions? Any other points? Okay, so we now move to the vote on the recommendations at page 21 of the agenda pack. Is that agreed? Thank you. Nobody against? Item 9 on the agenda, the local code of corporate governance and annual governance statement for 24-25. I formally move the recommendation. It's included on page 28 of the agenda pack. 1. Committee approves the annual governance statement for 24-25. 2. The committee keeps the content of the local code of corporate governance under review through the in-year governance update records to ensure the impact of the cabinet scrutiny model of governance is actively reflected in the code. Do I have a second, please? Second. I'd like to invite Simon Lacey to introduce the item.
Thank you, Chair.
Just let it play on for a bit. So yeah, Tory councils almost as close to the Reform counterparts. Well, it depends how clued in they are on the on what's going on. But I would have absolutely used that council lawyer. If you've got the lawyer for the council sitting in the room, use him. Just use him to absolutely embarrass them. Remind them, if you even let Doge through the door, what the consequences might be for the council doing that. Also in Kent, now taking credit for a green scheme. Again, not surprising, because that's the other thing that we're noticing. They're trying to take credit for a ton of other different schemes, you know, because they've done nothing. So none of the Reform councillors currently surrendered their cash. Surprise, surprise.
the table that used on page 31 talks very much about staff recognising their code of conduct and their register of interests. But I'm not sure where things like member training and issues about potential member breaches of code of conduct sort of fit within that, because obviously potentially there is a risk for members to do things which bring the council to disrepute, and how that kind of fits in. I know there's a
Oh, very interesting. Interesting question. So, what happens should a member of the council bring bring them into disrepute? Strange how that's not being put in this document, isn't it?
member training program, but it doesn't seem to be particularly plumbed into the report here.
So, yeah, in fact, the majority focuses on the staff conduct, but actually the member conduct is also considered. That's part of the code assessments A to G. We take the views both from the monitoring officer, chief executive, bring those into the report. So we actually also pick up the discussion of what issues have come up through the membership. So have there been any breaches, any issues, what's been raised? Relatively low in that regard. So it doesn't warrant significant explanation in any statements for significant risk. But it's a source of information. Future can expand on that.
Thank you for that. That's helpful. I just think we're possibly in quite an unusual scenario with the amount of new members who might not have been members of local authorities at all, and therefore it's more of a risk point than perhaps it might have been historically. Maybe
historically, don't forget that this annual governance statement is a retrospective document looking at your year 24 to 25. Now, sources that you mentioned will be considered, as it says, we will review the local code of conduct over 25-26 year, but all of those issues or instances that occur will be then compiled.
Oh, this is something else that's going to be quite interesting. What starts to happen on these governance and ethics committees where, maybe, a reform councillor says something, a bit dodgy on social media, etc. That is going to be interesting if one of those situations crops up. That'll be very interesting to see how these reform councillors judge one of their own, so to say.
The same annual statement this time next year. So we are looking back over the previous administration rather than the current administration. So that's a very valid point for the financial statement.
If I may, Chairman, clarification in terms of the significant risks, and it's quite a substantial.
In fact, Vimes, I am sure that might be coming up soon. We'll have to check when the next government and ethics committee is for County Durham, because it is very likely that issue with Councillor Grimes could get brought up, which could be very interesting indeed, considering already you have had lower councils. Oh, knocked my mic there. We've already had lower councils complain about the fact that he's been active on social media for all the wrong reasons. Hang on. There we go. Much better. There we go. So yeah, he's been active on social media for all the wrong reasons. That'll be very interesting on that committee meeting. It'll be even more funny if he is actually the chairman. I don't think he is, but that will be hilarious. Talk about a clown show. We've seen this. What would that be like? Jesus.
Training program that's been put in for members by colleagues in democratic services led by the monitoring officer. That's why we didn't consider looking forward in terms of that being a significant risk when you take into account the entirety of the local authority. But it's one of those things that we'll keep on review, but our anticipation is that induction program is really rigorous, so we don't expect issues with code.
Thank you, Councillor Pearson. Good point. Well put. Anybody else? Councillor Carr.
Page 42. under climate change. And in the last paragraph, discussions have been held about ensuring zeroing to ensure the potential impacts of climate change and citizens groups are basically captured with future iterations in county council for risk register. Can you perhaps explain a bit more the involvement of the our insurers as to what they are actually looking for there with regards to climate change?
I need to seek some further advice from the officer who provided that comment. But my judgment would be around they would be looking at what the risks are going forward, potentially in sort of the flood relationship, because if there's additional flood risks, things would happen in here which would impact on the insurable risks of buildings, properties, particularly if you have the issue of water sports centre as an example, rising water levels that often is floods, and we often see changes in premium and indeed they will put caveats on their premium insurance if that happens. So it's probably from that direction of flooding prevention where you would have a further impact of flash flood, water flood on our properties, on our assets. That would be from the insurance perspective. They would be advising on the way that we operate with climate change, but they would be actually looking at how we mitigate it.
Or more higher risk in terms of surface water issues than it is because they're close to a river.
The assurance map for 25-26.
Thing. It's not something to be seen as a threat. It's a good thing, because if you don't have good scrutiny, you end up like the city council and you do illegal things and waste money. So it's a really important aspect to have that sort of thing going on. However you do it, fine, but please just bear in mind the importance of having that kind of scrutiny where the cabinet members are involved in it as well, because that's really, to me, was one of the successes of why it was so good. You know, why we did so much in terms of how we spent our money, value for money, targeting areas that needed to be targeted, and actually reducing the budget where it needed to be reduced without impacting negatively on services. So I'm just sort of a friendly thing to say, look, you know, please bear that in mind when you decide how you're going to run moving forward. Because I saw that as very, very helpful as a cabinet member. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Girling. My own background is in quality assurance. I've worked for the United Nations Economy and similar committees. So it is a good point. It is noted. And I can assure you that we will be, as part of the review, looking at everything. Councillor Law.
Yes, thank you very much. Follow on really from Keith. Right at the beginning of your diatribe, which I actually thought quite dangerous because this is a regulation.
Oh, calling back to that. Oh,
Committee. You mentioned the 100k saving. The reason why you made the 100k saving is because you've taken the responsibility of the deputy chairs of the Overall Scrutiny Committee away from the opposition group. So it's actually the opposition group which has made the 100k saving, not the reform group. They've just tried to take credit for it. And my view is that, and be interested to hear what your view is, Chairman, that it is extremely dangerous to take the opposition away from any form of responsibility as far as overview and scrutiny is concerned. And I really do doubt that the overview and scrutiny system will work effectively, not having that level of input. The opposition group.
so yeah, I sort of agree with what we're saying there. Yeah, it is kind of bad the fact that you've taken away the opposition's point on this. Like, what are you doing, taking away the opposition point on this? What that's right, that does damage scrutiny. That damages it very, very much so. But the point is being there, if these reform people aren't going to turn up, as we've seen happening time and time again, what would happen? It will probably fall to the deputy chair, who is most likely probably there. They would then run the meeting, and maybe stuff would happen that the reform people would like. Maybe questions allowed to ask, but you've already seen quite clearly this guy, very, very much so ready to just completely ditch and even make up stuff if it suits him, which is very, very dangerous. Very, very dangerous. Yeah. But how can they grift if they're being watched? I know.
But I do understand that you want to try and take credit for 100k that you've actually taken off other councillors of other parties. Thank you.
Well, thank you for your opinion. I don't necessarily agree with it. We'll add it to the other diatribe if you wish. So moving on then, are there any other points of view?
That is terrible. That is terrible. You've been called out for the fact that you've removed membership positions on committees and councils that will go to members of the opposition. And of course, being on these type of committee, you would get some sort of monetary compensation for doing so. It is quite an important job. But no, you've taken that away, and now you're claiming 100k savings for taking something away that is, I don't know, kind of important, kind of important on that front.
Okay, we'll move to the vote. You can vote from the drinks machine. So the vote for the recommendations on page 59. Thank you. Councillor Adioki?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Item 11 on the agenda, Chief Internal Officer's Annual Report for 24-25. I formally move the recommendations included on page 77 of the agenda pack. That 1, contents of the Chief Internal Auditor's report be noted. That a further report be brought to the committee in 12 months' time. Do I have a seconder, please? A second. I would like now to invite again Simon Lacey to introduce the item.
Thank you, Chair. Again, similar to the first item that I covered, this is an annual report, but this time, from my perspective, about the operations across the council, the coverage in terms of the internal control, risk management and governance arrangements, which I am bound to do by professional practice. Just as an aside, this year, or the 24-25 year, this year, we've been compiling the public sector internal audit standards. Those standards will change, and have already changed on the 1st of April this year. So next year, my annual report will be finalised in accordance with the global international audit standards as we introduced the training last couple of weeks. So we'll probably give you some more training to cover those aspects before we get to the annual report.
Probably more training reform won't turn up to, but there you go.
I'm more than happy to have done this report this year. It's a good report, giving positive assurance again in theory that I have to, and it again confirms what we've already heard, that the council's got good arrangements for its controls, risks, and its governance arrangements across. So I'm quite happy to take any questions in relation to the report.
Well, having sat through the training, I'm in agreement. I'm looking forward to it. Are there any views or questions from the members? Okay.
Now, can I just ask Simon? I think it's a very helpful report, and that there are some people out there that say there's a lot of corruption in local government, and clearly this shows that there would seem to be a very low level.
Yeah, there are. There are a lot of people out there who say that, and yet you've got your council internal auditor saying, "No, that doesn't happen." That doesn't happen.
Of dishonesty. And in fact, let me check whether I'm right on this, that the majority of the incidents that are reported in page 102 and 103 are actually service users that have behaved dishonestly rather than members of staff.
I think you're referring to the next item on the agenda.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I've said to you.
Video my stock, Steve.
I'm heading this up. Sorry.
These new councillors.
Oh, dear.
Which figures? We've done it before, we've all done it before.
Well, Scott, I think you put him down very, very fairly. Yeah, we've all been there, new, keen, enthusiastic, are on those days. Anyway, yes, going to this report, yes, as Mr. Lacey says, it is a good report. And the thing about internal audit reports is for people, whether it's residents or new members or any members, when you read the word internal, you think, oh, well, are we marking our own homework in effect? Which is a perception that people might understandably have. But the great thing about this report, and indeed the ones in previous years, is the detail that it goes into.
Yeah, I mean, shockingly, but again, these most of these reform people don't believe that, you know, these internal audits are done properly, or they're letting, you know, hundreds of thousands of pounds just, you know, slip through the net mysteriously.
Really quite phenomenal, and it's required because at the end of the day, it's what audit is all about. But to assure anyone who might think that, well, if you're doing an internal report, you're always going to find things that are great or nothing needs doing. Well, as we see from this report, that's not the case. There is you know, the old traffic light system, the red, green, amber warnings. There's plenty of green, which is great, which is what we all like to see. For general awareness as much as anything as to how it's.
And that basically works on the assurance we get.
I'm just going to skip forward now because I think we've.
Okay, we'll just.
I think we've seen the fireworks. I think that was only at the beginning, unfortunately.
Wrapping up the work for 24-25. Annual fraud report brings together.
I've also seen those figures, and I also interrogated them with Officer Stevenson. It's quite impressive the way you go about these things. But can I ask, do you separate members of staff from external fraud? Do you look at it differently?
No, fraud's fraud.
Fraud's fraud. If it is fraud, it's a criminal offence. You're conducting or committing the same offence as anybody else, and that wouldn't prejudice anything. And that would then be a consulted message between the monitoring officer, section 151, and myself in terms of the corrective action we need to take.
For the public's benefit, can I just confirm that we have a policy of 100% passing these items on to the police for prosecution?
Our policy for the county council is we will prosecute in every case. So ours is about chasing or making sure fraud doesn't happen in the first place, as Simon said. But if it does happen, then because it is council taxpayers' money, then we will go at every effort to prosecute and also to recoup.
Thank you for that reassurance. Councillor Pearson.
Yeah, thank you.
Again, he is playing to invisible audience, thinking that there's going to be hundreds of thousands of people watching this in his performance.
Again, the second time. On page 102, it looks like a very, very small number of actual employee frauds as opposed to service users, just into single figures, which is quite an achievement. See, comment on that? Or?
Again, you're right in your assumption with the figures, and that is correct. I think that is again testament to the council in that the way it's put those controls in place, it's got really good volume payment down.
Been happening so that when you bring in Doge, you can really concentrating on, because I think as this report shows and as all the previous reports show, we have quite a good grip on this council in terms of what goes on. And I'd just like to know from your point of view where your concerns are that we need to be worried about that this council is being fraudulent.
Yep. Again, a reform, remind you, ran on the fact all these councils really fraudulent. Good question to bring up to the chair, you know, but you've just had a literal report saying, actually, our fraud's really low.
I'm not sure that anybody said this council is fraudulent. I can assure you, I can assure you,
It's on the leaflets.
you can smile away, but I can assure you, we have been working on this. And because the public are listening in, there's items on there I don't wish to declare. I can just assure you that by the next committee meeting, you will probably have some of those noted.
I'll probably have some of those.
Well, it takes as long as it takes. It's an investigation. Investigations take, we shouldn't keep talking over me, Councillor Carr. It takes as long as it takes, Councillor Carr.
No, okay, I was just going to say that the items of literature that came through my door were quite explicit, that all
Yep. Quite explicit indeed, weren't they?
councils were fraudulent and full of corruption. You may not have seen them, of course, because you didn't deliver them, because you came from your head office in London. And so, you know, we're going to come to financials later. And the reality of the situation is it was complete nonsense what was being said. And I agree with Councillor Gurney.
Can you stop agreeing?
I don't. I'm not using this. But, you know, this is just like smoke and mirrors.
Okay.
Smoke and mirrors. I used to work in a bank, and I was in quality assurance in a bank as well. And we used to have a term that if the number on a cheque didn't match what was written down, it was words and figures differ, and that's precisely what we've got.
We're referring to this report at the moment, so thank you for your comments.
Yeah.
Right, this report is for noting, so it's not subject to a vote. Is the committee happy to note the report? No one against.
Yeah, very, very happy to shut down criticism when it's against him and his party. But you know, oh, he can speak for days.
Item 13, statement of accounts 24-25, accounting policies. I formally move.
Glenn, thank you very much.
Through to the end.
The leader of the council, under a previous iteration, spent millions on acquiring assets across the country, many of which went belly up, one of which was charged literally numerous millions for replacing a lot of cladding on an apartment block. I'm just wondering, under the item 8, whether it protects us from that sort of behaviour, because
Yes.
Again, just another report.
Practice, which all auditors of local
Here we get to the
authorities
text
comply with.
auditors.
The code sets out the responsibilities of auditors. Councils are PSAA's fees. They set the audit fees following a consultation to specialise in those audits and to greater importance. And it also means
of the report details our audit approach. So our audit is memorandum.
And these
and we've also
external,
documented our understanding.
external auditors that apparently don't exist. But no, councils do this all the time. They do external audits. They do internal audits all the time. All the time.
Of the council's controls and performed walkthroughs. We're now in the field work stage, an override of controls, and that's a and then secondly. Our report, and I'm happy to take any questions on that before we move on to the pension fund if you'd like.
Really like to ask any questions at this stage.
Just make sure the pension fund does the best it can.
well, so I will touch on the pension fund because it's the I will touch on pension fund briefly because as it's been mentioned, so you've got the other plan.
Oh no, someone's phone's going off.
In there. So the audit the pension funds, you can see very similar documents. The key risks from the valuation tech. Well, I'm an auditor, so I'm going to be more cautious, aren't I? Because auditors aren't known for being overly kind of bold in their statements. So likely possible, shall we say.
hopeful possible. Is that? I mean, that's as good as you're going to get from an auditor, right? Reasonable assurance is the phrase that I come back to. Yeah. So I think that touches on. I didn't want to touch on the rest of the report in detail because it is very similar to the county one, as you can see. So if there's any questions, if there's any questions, happy to take them, Chair.
Councillor Pearson.
Just to understand that, I think you said quite helpfully that you look at value for money steps, not in terms of whether it will produce value for money or whether there are arrangements in place that help secure value for money. But it occurs to me, I mean, we understand that the mini Doge team at some point will come down the road, and
again, mini Doge team coming down the road. You've seen the opposition they're going to get to it from those Conservative councillors, and here it is again being brought up.
Yes, there's some overlap in terms of that, and you may have to
Yeah, shockingly, you don't need Doge team because they're already doing it.
with them. If that's something that you have considered, would it have an effect on your fee, or any comments on that?
I don't. I mean, before something's in place, it's hard to comment on how that will impact directly. If that is a part of the council's arrangements to deliver value for money in areas, then that is something that will be relevant to our work on VFM, and we will need to understand those arrangements in order to report our commentary on them. In terms of an impact on fees, as I said in the intro, the fees are set by PSAA, so are nothing to do with the work that I do. I don't influence those fees. That is a PSAA led decision. So I can't really comment on how it would impact, as it's not part of the council's arrangements for the 24-5 year currently. It isn't something that we would be looking at.
If I may, Chairman, as Alistair has said, the auditor's view is around the arrangements value for money. I see in some instances, in terms of what has been said around what other people are talking about value for money, is more a view about the eye of the beholder, in terms of what one person spends on one thing might be seen as wasteful and spend on another thing as being the most and greatest thing they've ever spent money on, which is a decision about what to spend the money on, as opposed to what the auditor's looking about is what's the process around making that decision.
Yep, so he's now having to explain to them, basically the process of spending money. Oh.
The right thing that the authority's got in place, not necessarily where I bought a set of roller skates or I bought a McDonald's meal. It doesn't really matter, but one might think that roller skates is wasteful and McDonald's meals was the greatest thing you could spend your money on. That is a view about what is value for money, as opposed to what the auditor's talking about is what's the decision-making process around that. All up right in terms of did the authority assess whether they were getting value for money when they were making that decision.
I'm sure the public will value that. I don't know if
If I could, Chair, just to help on that, and it's about the value for money question rather than, and I agree that the audit is about the process of that value for money. But what sometimes people, particularly if you've not been in it before, might not understand sometimes, and I've made those decisions as a cabinet member. I've taken less of an amount of money for selling something because of the social value that has. So say for example, it's a piece of land, and that piece of land is worth £1,000, but I've sold it for £500. The social value would be way more than that £1,000, and so it's very relative whether it's value for money or not, and it depends on what your social conscience is. It's all sorts of factors involved in it. So it's not just a case of black and white. Oh, you should have got £1,000 for that. Plus, there's also the fact but it's a piece of land in Ashfield, which when I first became the cabinet member, it was valued by this council as being worth 19 million pounds. By the time anything was done with it, because it doesn't happen like that in property, I think we got about £4.5 million. Sorry, 19 million pounds. We got about £4.5 million for it. But there's also a social element to that, because the land was used to build a centre on it of excellence for automated industry training. So there's all sorts of things which makes it value from that. Now you might think that selling it for £4.5 million was a bad deal because we should have got 19 million pounds. The reality is that land value went down anyway. Yeah, because the cost of
trying to explain to them why
went up,
value for money is
doing anything on it went up,
itself would
the
stay.
value of the land comes
Fair
down
enough.
to make it viable.
Explanations of VFM. VFM is subjective, and I'm sure members of the public watching that will know that, and others that won't. So thank you.
Again, why is he constantly appealing to like members of the public? Oh.
Both the explanations. Right, the report is for noting, so not subject to a vote. Is the committee happy to note the report?
Take, but I'm wondering, given the fact that the decisions taken in the first place to not be at County Hall would have had an impact, positive impact on budgets and all the rest of it, do we need to perhaps have a look at how any potential change to that policy would impact the services we're providing?
The work programme is a work in action, and as part of an early review, when we get around the table with a working group, which will be cross-party, that is part of the agenda. How do we change the work programme? Because we have MCA, we have LGR looming and other things. And I think it's going to change quite considerably, and I'm sure Marge would like to.
Yeah, so what I was going to say before you got in for me was I was going to say I think we need to review the work programme because we set it, as you rightly say, a year.
Where's the VFM for the members of the public? This is all about you wanting to be in a nice posh building. Whereas, you know, if it's saving £50 million and saving £1.7 million a year, which can be used on
this is about
children's services.
Okay, look,
and adult social care. I'm sorry, I'm not allowed to speak.
No, I'm conscious of the time. Getting a lot of speeches. We're not addressing.
Well, no,
we're not addressing the issues that are on the agenda.
You're very good, Chairman, as a party of stopping debate and stopping people having their say.
I've been
And I think
very,
that's pretty
very,
poor.
very
Well, you're not
generous
let me
today.
finish.
But I'd like to move on.
Exactly. Thank you for
Exactly.
that point.
So I'd like to invite if there's any more views for the Councillor Carr.
Yes, thank you. Seeing as we've now said that we're going to review this, and I think that's possibly a good way forward because things have changed dramatically, not just here but nationally. One of the things is we keep referring to this team from Reform UK that may or may not turn up on our doorstep asking to see all sorts of things. It's happened in other county councils. What I would ask is that if they do turn up, monitoring officer, that there is an extraordinary meeting of this committee to talk.
Oh, good. That is good actually. So basically asking if those turn up, we want an extraordinary general meeting to discuss this and scrutiny put on about it. I will say this now, that is actually very good. That is very, very good. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Chair complaining about people making speeches, not addressing the agenda, pot kettle. Exactly. Surprise. I think they're going to be very interesting. Yeah, Doge, accountability, whatever next. I mean, you've already seen you do not need Doge at all. You've got the internal auditors sat at the top of this table, and you've got the two external auditors sat at the bottom of the table. Why do you need Doge? Doge is just there because Farage is hoping it makes them look good. That is it.
Before anything is allowed to happen.
we'd have to make a judgment on that at the time.
Yeah.
I don't know, nobody's approached us, everybody's come, so.
No.
we have to-
I'm just saying, if they do.
So if there are no other points then, the report is for noting and so not subject to a vote. Is the committee happy to note the report? Fine, thank you.
I think that's it. That's your lot.
I will now, I'm on 15, yes?
Yeah.
I will now formally close the meeting.
There you go. So there you go. That is your absolute clown show of the state of Nottinghamshire County Council. Wow. I'll tell you what, we might be watching the next time that's on live. Next time they are doing one, I'm going to find out what the next one of those meetings is. I'm making sure we're watching that live. That could be pretty interesting. Could be very interesting indeed. But yeah, it is quite late now. It's just 10:05. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining us for this very impromptu meeting. But this live stream. But I did feel that it was reading about it was one thing. Seeing it in person is something completely different. You can really see the absolute insanity that's gone on there. Yeah, Durham. This is what I want to actually look up to see if they've had a government and ethics committee. I don't think they've had one yet, at least as far as I'm aware. I might again have missed it. I'm not too sure, but we'll have to find out. See if Durham have had their own ethics meeting, because Councillor Grimes might get brought up in it, which I'm sure will be fun. So as always, thank you very much everyone for watching. Please do, of course, remember to click the like and the share button on your way out. Do remember to leave a comment down below as well. It helps with all the algorithmical stuff as well. If you'd like to help out the channel another way, there are links down below. There's the Patreon page, there's the Buy Me a Coffee link where you can buy me coffee, the YouTube thank you button, and of course, as always, thank you very much everyone else for all the help and support you show the channel. And of course, as always, we'll see you all next time.